Good morning, everybody. How are you today? It is 9 a.m. on Sunday. That means it's time for Lisa's Changing Perceptions. And today, as every Sunday, we're brought to you by the Bremer team, Keller Williams, North Shore West. They bring families home. Lisa, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, Pete. I'm hanging in there. How are you?
I'm fan-diddly-tastic.
Distracted trying to share the show on my Facebook page. And thank you to our sponsor. Today we're going to discuss body syndromes, and I'm going to talk a little bit about a few other things ahead of time, and it'll seem outside the box, but they are actually related. First off, I'm Lisa. I am a self-empowerment coach, and I use hypnosis and NLP and EFT in order to help people get past their blockages that are stopping them from the life that they choose or the life that they wish they had, I guess is the way to say it. You can reach me at lisaschangingperceptions.com, lisaschangingperceptions@gmail. You can call or text 262-573-7055, or as always, you can reach me through 216-THE-NET, and Pete will be happy to send any questions or comments or requests that you may have there.
More than happy, I'll be thrilled.
So, first off, I'm going to address some things that have come up to question, just to clear them up. I do practice what I preach, so I'm gonna own it. First off, is people have asked if I'm okay or if I'm not okay. I am okay. I'm going through an angry stage. And I'm processing my angry stage the same way I would actually work with a client to process that angry stage. So if any of that anger has come out to you, I apologize. That actually is not my intent. But the truth is that there's some angers going on right now with my own life and with the world and as I see things. And part of that has come to the surface is that I'm seeing so many people struggle, and I'm seeing families and friends and people fall apart and relationships fall apart over these angry issues, that if we could step back and detach ourselves from the emotion that has been triggered in it and see it from another perspective, there would be a lot less destruction. And I've learned my lessons of you can't shake people awake.
No, not really.
And that's where my own anger was being triggered, is the feeling that society and people don't want to be better, that they're becoming content in their anger, and their harm and fear have become our norm. And those are things that have been triggering me. So even last week I brought it up, and I tell the truth. I'm having an argument with spirit in the moment, over the last few weeks, begging to be shown the purpose. So as I left last Sunday, I had two choices. I could go where I go, and I knew that I would go there and I wouldn't find peace. I would pout and I would fester. So I in turn said, screw it. I'm going to go somewhere where it's fun. I'm going to go somewhere where my give a shit can get turned off for a little while. And so I went to something called Beer, Bands, and Barbecues.
Sounds like fun.
It was actually, and it was so packed. And it was a lot of bikers and things, which is truthfully my comfort zone in a way. But I was just sitting and people watching, which is what I really kind of like to do. So I was sitting at the bar drinking my iced tea and just people watching. And there is no moment, it feels like, in life that spirit doesn't give me a learning. And I'm trying to change my word from lesson, because I used to say spirit gave me a lesson, and a lesson almost sounds like a punishment. So I'm going to say spirit gave me a learning, and I'm trying to reword my wiring process that it's a learning, not a lesson. So I'm sitting there drinking my iced tea, and this enormous oversized biker comes up and orders his drinks. And I'm just watching. And he said something funny, and I busted up laughing. And then we got into this conversation. And so I said, it is a place I frequent. And I said, I've never seen you in here before, or the club that you're with. So what brought you here today? And he's like, oh, I'm here from Texas for work. And this is a club that is an extension of my club. So they decided to bring me here for the day, and we could meet them and so on and so forth. And I said, you're here for work. What are you here to do? What is your job? And he said, I'm a biochemist. Oh, okay. lesson in judgment, because not that I judge anybody for that, but I truthfully can say that I was shocked in the answer that I was given. So I was like, okay. And I laughed and I said, you are? And he's like, yeah, I know that probably surprises you. And he laughed too. So I'm obviously not the first person who's been surprised about his response. So I'm kind of chatting with him and I'm looking at his vest because in truth, I'm trying to see what patches he's got, because I am smart enough to know that there's certain clubs you don't say or do certain things, just because you don't feel like getting yourself stepping in the turmoil. And he looked at me and he must have seen what I was doing, because he turned his vest and he showed me the patch that I couldn't see from the side I was on. And it said BACA. And I said, I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. And he said, oh, it's Bikers Against Child Abuse. I said, are you those bikers that follow kids to the juries and take the bullied kids to school in groups and camp out on people's lawns to protect them when they're waiting to be a witness? And he's like, yeah, that's us. I was like, wow. Oh my God, you're amazing. So of course, first thing out of my mouth is, I have a radio show I'd love you to be on and discuss what you do, but I'd also like to do the topic of judgment as we do this. And he said, I have to go back to Texas this week, but I can get you the president of the club, and they can get our PR person. No joke. They can go get our PR person. This is a very organized group of bikers. And I said, okay. So we're talking for a little bit and he goes out, and then all of a sudden he comes in with these two men with these beards down to their bellies and their stocking caps on and their long hair, and exactly what sadly we would say we would picture. Mm-hmm. They're the two sweetest men, shake my hand, tell me all about what they do. And they're the most amazing people, truly the most amazing people. And they're even telling me, oh, one of the things that we do when we have somebody who's afraid is we have a teddy bear that we buy. And we all hug the teddy bear, because we know, what did he say? The way he worded it, he said, we know we're sweaty, smelly bikers, so our scent's going to get on this teddy bear. And then we give it to the child and say, even if you can't see us, we're here. Hug the bear.
Wow.
And I'm like, I love you, and I did give them my phone number, and let's pray that they're on the show, because I would love to have them on the show. But it was a learning of, Lisa, you're coming here, you're angry at me, meaning spirits trying to show me, you're angry at me and you're asking me to show you the good in the world. And then you said, screw it, I'm going to go where my give a shit doesn't have to matter. And all of a sudden here, I'm going to present you with your learning anyway. Look, there is so much good in the world, but you, like you tell people, are so clouded in your anger that you can no longer see it. So those are the learnings that have begun to take place, and I'm digging up my own gunk. So for the record, I share that with you to tell you, yes, I am okay. And thank you for caring. Thank you for noticing. Thank you for it mattering, but I am okay. Second question that's come up more than once in the last week or so is, why do you call yourself a self-empowerment coach instead of a life coach? Okay. Well, first, because my personal belief, and I do not diss a life coach for the record, but my personal belief is I can't coach you on your life I didn't live it.
Makes sense.
I don't know how to coach you on your life I didn't live it. My reason for terming it self-empowerment coach is that I believe that with the right tools, we change ourselves, we free ourselves, and we coach our own life. And that with those tools, not only in this moment do you receive kind of a goal or a push in the right direction, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you can use those tools if you get stuck again. And you are now empowered to own your own life. You are now empowered to make those decisions. So that is why I call myself a self-empowerment coach, because I would prefer to have a client, and I've had clients that have come once because it was a phobia kind of thing that actually was able to be solved. And I've had clients that have come for 8 and 9 months because they got feeling so much better about getting rid of some gunk that they started going, hey, I got more gunk over here. Let's do that. And everywhere in between. But my goal or my purpose in it is that I run into somebody in 5 years or 10 years who says, yeah, I'm doing great and I still use those tools. To me, that's empowerment. And everything I do doesn't work for every person. That's why there's multiple tools. And the people who don't choose to use it, okay. Okay, that's fine. And where my lesson and my anger has been wanting to walk up and shake people and say, oh my God, you do not have to suffer. Stop it. And then reminding the arrogance in that of, it's not for me to decide when someone's ready. So those, the reason I explain these things is because I go through the same processes that I deal with clients with. I use the same tools that I deal with clients with. Many people say I shouldn't kind of puke my truth out on the radio and sell myself. That doesn't resonate for me. I believe that I can sell something, so to speak, that I actually use. So I actually really do use it. The process of people releasing guilt and shame and anger, the process of people releasing that is the same process for everybody. And the reality is everybody carries those things to a certain level. The only difference between people is the level they've learned to hide it or the level they've learned to heal it. But we all have things in our life that are buried or surfaced, whichever: guilt, shame, hurt, fear, anger. And so I feel that in order to validate my belief, validate the way I live, validate what I use as my practice, I have to also make it clear that I experience it, and I don't ask any more of you than I would ask of myself. Go ahead.
Okay, we actually have Shayna has popped in, and
Hi,
she
Shayna.
says, just caught the Lana Lisa show from yesterday and very much enjoyed the combo of the two of you. What was your take on laziness / procrastination again? I remember it to be profound, but I can't remember it, lols, she says. And good morning to you both.
Good morning. I'm trying to remember when that came up, that it said laziness is choosing not to do something, choosing or being too tired. Procrastination is the fear of doing it.
I would say being too tired is more of a physical thing rather than laziness.
That's the feeling of lazy is you're too tired. But are you too tired because you work too hard, or are you too tired because you're mentally, emotionally drained?
Well, either way, I don't think tired equates to laziness.
I do, because there's different levels of tired. And lazy is a choice.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%.
You can take a rest and get up and do it. If you're tired, you can take a rest and you can get up and do it, or you can decide not to. Procrastination is knowing that you need to, knowing that you're available to, and being too afraid to. And people can say, oh no, it's not that I'm afraid to, it's that I don't want to. Our drive is driven through different emotions, and fear is one of them, and it will stop us from doing it. And again, I'll throw myself under the bus here and say, just yesterday, Kent looked at me and said, where the hell's your book? So let's give Kent a big thumbs up this morning.
Yeah.
And I said, shush, because the truth is I'm procrastinating it. I'm not too lazy to write it. I've written one. I'm procrastinating it because I'm afraid of it. So procrastination, to me, there's a reason that we're not going to do it. We're putting it off. The reason it's a procrastination too is that we're holding value to it by holding on to the thought of doing it. We would not hold on to it if there wasn't a value or a secondary gain to it. Mm. But then we're beating ourselves up to do it. So if that helps, that's part of the reason I'm going to talk about what I talk about today. Is I said yesterday, I was talking with somebody who was having some medical issues, and I said, have you ever considered hypnosis? And like, what would you do under hypnosis? And I said, well, if we can detach the emotion from it, the anger that you're feeling about not feeling well, if we can detach that emotion from it, because that's our drive in the moment, we can reconnect the mind and the body and ask yourself, what do I need? Because right now it's being clouded in anger, the same way my vision of the good in the world was being clouded in anger. What does my body need? And they looked at me like I had three heads. And I said, that sounds funny, doesn't it? And they said, it really does. And I said, okay, that means I'm going to do a show on it. because that's me. And what I thought about it last night, and I hesitantly, like a toddler who doesn't want to ask their mother for help, even though they're mad at them, I asked Spirit to help guide me in my thought process of this. It was funny to me because what kind of came to my mind was, isn't it interesting that if we become sick, we'll go to the doctor and we'll put whatever drug. Now, I am not, for the record, for legal purposes, I am not a doctor, nor am I telling you to avoid doctor advice or medical treatment. But we'll go to the doctor, we'll take a prescription, and we'll shove that in our body. Very, very few people research the prescription or research the ailments or research the disease to see if there's anything besides exactly what that person said. Now, I am not against all doctors, but I can tell you that my life experiences have brought me to question.
Yeah.
Because more than once, there have been severe consequences had I not. So we'll do that. We'll just put that in our body. And a lot of people are curious about my mediumship and my intuition. We'll go to a person who says they're psychic or a medium or whatever it is and ask them a question and then make a choice in our life about it. Yeah. About this complete stranger saying that they can connect to the spirit, which we can, but that's not the point. And then we'll take that advice and we'll go use it. We'll stick chemicals in our face to look younger. Because the girl I work with is so funny. She always says, when are you going to let me Botox your angry lines? That's what she said these are right here.
and Botox is a poison,
yes,
by the way.
Yes. Or we'll go get drunk in order to feel socially comfortable because our social anxiety eases with that, right? So we'll put alcohol in our body or drugs in our body and we'll do all these things. But then when you go, well, let's connect you to your body and see what your body tells you, because your brain communicates with your body, hence your blood pumps.
Yeah.
Your breathing takes place even while you're sleeping. Your legs move when your brain says, I need to walk. These things all happen. Your brain and your body are connected. So then somebody said to me, well, people are more infatuated and excited about the whole woo-woo part. I said, how much more flippin' woo-woo do you get than mind-body-spirit connection? Because I don't know how you guys think I do it. But for the record, it's the mind-body-spirit connection, knowing where to go.
Yeah.
And so it's just been these fascinating conversations that make me realize how out of touch we've really become. And I've used this example before, that it's a McDonald's society now. I want it fast, I want it now, and I don't care if it's good for me. But then when it causes me harm, I'm going to sue McDonald's. I'm not going to take accountability for the fact that I sat in the drive-thru and ordered. And I used my hard-earned money to buy it.
Yeah.
I'm going to sue them because it must be their fault. And we see that in society right now in multiple different levels. I use the McDonald's thing as a joke because most people can relate to that. But if we see that on different levels, I'm not going to be accountable for my past or my choices. Only this moment matters to me. And somebody else is going to be responsible for the consequences of my choices. And we're not able to step outside and look at something from a different perspective because the energy and the emotions are such a drive that that's all we can focus on. Again, throwing myself under the bus. The same way my anger had me so clouded that I could not see the good anymore.
Yeah.
I could not see not only the purpose, but my purpose. Felt like a hamster on the wheel, as I've put it before. And all these things are happening. So it's the perspective of all of these things outside of us and how we won't take responsibility for it. And I use this in one of the conversations that I had with somebody. And then I'm going to get to the body syndromes thing, because I promise you we're going to talk about what that is. But this is all related, and there's a reason. It'll all make sense. I was having a conversation with somebody about, we're just going to say, current events in the media and in society. And I said, now let's step back and look at it from another perspective. And I'm not justifying any view. So let me make that very clear. I am not justifying any view. I'm taking the perspective in which I see, which is our accountability of ourselves and our lives, and placing my perspective into a situation. And in my life, I know a person who made a lot of really poor choices. And they made a lot of poor choices that affected themselves, and they have a police record. Mm-hmm. And there was a moment in time, which I told you change happens in an instant, when they said, this is not my freaking life anymore. I need to stop. And they actually quit an addiction. And as they were going through the process of a whole new world, because when you give up an addiction, especially an alcohol or a chemical addiction, your whole world changes. Okay, because talk about literally removing the fog. Okay. And there was a situation where they had to go somewhere that they knew there may be trouble. And I said, well, you know what? To avoid that, why don't we call the police station and let them know you need to go to this location and pick up some of your things. That way there can be somebody there, and let's just clear that up. So they went, and I'm getting texts from the person with them going, what the hell is going on? And I said, what do you mean? And they said, there's 7 cops surrounding them as they walk to the door. I said, good Lord, what are they acting like? Like, why is this happening? And they said, they're fine. They're just walking. I said, interesting. So I sat and waited. So when they came back, this person is angry. I didn't do anything wrong, and 7 cops are surrounding me as I walk to the door like I'm a criminal, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And I said, God, I can feel your anger. That must be frustrating because you've worked really hard not to be that anymore. Now let's step back. This situation, you're not going to send the veteran. He's got big business to do out there, right? You're going to send probably the newbie, probably pretty young. So I used to be a 911 dispatcher, so I actually know this for a fact. So the officer's getting the call to go, and they have a laptop in their computer or in their car. And they type in who you are in your driver's license. You've been identified. There are multiple arrests for fighting, battery. Yeah. Okay, basically. And holy shit, you're 6'4" and 300 pounds. So young newbie is going, oh, not alone.
Yeah. Need some backup.
Right. So this happens. And the response from this person as I'm explaining this was, well, but I'm not that person anymore. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. You have my true heartfelt congratulations. That person doesn't know it. They only know what your history has created. And it will take time for that history to change and for you to be viewed by others differently. I am incredibly proud of you for viewing yourself differently and beginning that march to that path. You cannot expect the rest of the world to see it or accept it when there's a repeated pattern. It is up to us to change our pattern and then be grateful when that comes out. But it starts right here. It starts right here. So the reason I say that is that we get really wrapped up in this little tiny thing that's triggering something in us, and everything goes up into this big mushroom cloud of energy, and everybody reacts and responds to it. But there are always going to be different perspectives of something. The only thing we're responsible is right here. Right here. So if it has become so foreign that the idea of let's reconnect your mind and your body, let's get you re-in-tuned with yourself and who you are, has become so foreign, I'm starting to see where the problem is. That was such a weird and foreign idea. Now, it may work for you, it may resonate for you, it may not. For those it does, you're welcome. For those it doesn't, okay. Just kind of the way it is. We need to reconnect mind, body, and spirit. And again, for those who are just looking for the woo-woo part of it, cool. I don't know how much more woo-woo you can get than reconnecting mind, body, and spirit and feeling at one with yourself and developing and empowering yourself to become unneeding of validation from outside, unneeding of approval for others. Unneeding for the thumbs up on our Facebook and how many we get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unneeding for our TikTok or our Snapchat or those things I don't even know how to use. So I can throw those words out because I know they're popular, but I don't know how to use them. But unneeding for all those validations from outside of us that says that we matter. Self-empowerment coaching means let's explore what's stopping you from realizing how much you freaking matter. Because something, somewhere, or multiple things in your life allowed you to believe otherwise.
Okay, Shayna has a question here.
Yes, ma'am.
It says, is it a form of survivor syndrome, feeling unworthy, or the need to incorporate some lesson that keeps us choosing to stay in a toxic relationship?
It is an aspect of survivor syndrome.
Okay, she's just curious, as obviously there is some gain in it, or we wouldn't participate. You actually talked about that a little earlier.
Yeah, so that's going to be my next topic before we get into these body syndrome.
So,
secondary gain.
Yeah, the secondary gain. We were talking about that in the green room, I think.
So, right. So secondary gain. Here is a fact. And I call bullshit on some of this sometimes. When people say, I do good for others with zero expectation of anything. Bullshit. Your brain would not allow it. Your brain would not allow you to move forth and put out energy for something that it does not see gain. Even if that gain is because when I help others, I feel good about me. That is a gain.
Yeah.
So that whole, no, there's absolutely no expectation. Yes, I expect to feel good. I expect that when I help another human being, I expect that the thing that will happen in the energy exchanges, I will feel good that I did that.
Hey, good morning, Ted. How you doing?
Hi, Ted. So there is secondary gain, but secondary gain can harm us negatively. So secondary gain, the times that we look at secondary gain, well, are always, but when we want to look at how secondary gain is harming us is when we look at we're repeating a negative pattern or repeating a cycle that continues to harm us. In other words, it doesn't bring us forward in life. It keeps us down. There is a secondary gain to that. There has to be, or your brain would no longer allow you to do it, period. But secondary gain can be a distorted filter of how something looks. So one example is I see parents who literally exhaust themselves trying to give their children everything and make sure their children never feel pain and make sure their children never feel rejection or hurt or, and are never the outcast and they're always the most popular or the best on the sports team or whatever, and literally like drain themselves of that. The secondary gain you're looking for in that can be approval. You're seeking the approval. And the interesting part is that why are you seeking that approval through your children? Was it that when you were a child, you had experienced a lot of things that caused you a lot of harm? And so you'll now deprive yourself to make sure your children never feel those. So your gain is the approval that you weren't all those things you felt like you were.
I mean, you're preaching to the choir when you say things like that. Kel, and I hope I'm saying your name correctly here. Kel, Kel Usper, USPR.
That's U.S. Paranormal Research. That's Kelly that was on the show.
Oh, well, geez. Okay.
Hi, Kel.
Hey, Kelly, how you doing? But says, love your honesty. And actually, because we are at the very bottom of the hour, we want to say a huge thank you to the Bremer team at Keller Williams North Shore West. Actually, I think that is now Keller Williams Success. So we need to update that, I believe. I'll double check on that. But you can certainly find the Bremer team at bremerteam.com or give a call 847-456-6334. They bring families home.
Yes, and we're grateful for that.
Very grateful. And Kelly, your name is not Usper, but it could be if you'd like. So there you go.
Hi, Kel. So real quick on secondary gain. there can be multiple reasons for secondary gain. Again, that's just an example that I can give that probably relates to a lot of people, or people can relate to it, whether it's within their own life or they've seen someone else and kind of experienced that. We're trying to heal our own wounds. We're searching for something. So again, we go back to the mind-body connection. When we're stuck in a place and we keep repeating a process, if you can develop that mind and body and that trust in your own instincts, you can sit within yourself and say, show me, what am I gaining from this? Where that becomes difficult is that when we fear seeing our truth, as we've talked about before, the truth that says, gosh, I'm trying to gain something that doesn't have anything to do with it, and it doesn't even make sense. And then we go into, oh my God, I can't possibly admit that, because if I admitted that, people would know how foolish I feel. And we start that cycle, that process, that reasoning behind all those things. And the truth is that until the scales become balanced differently, in other words, when we feel safe being unhappy, uncomfortable, and miserable, because I have people all the time that they'll go, oh my God, I can't stand feeling anxiety all the time. I can't stand the feeling that I feel this way. I'm like, okay, there's going to be a process to break that cycle. But step one is, let's try this. And then you see them in a week, and I said, did you do that? No. Why? Can I ask why? Did you want to try something different? Did it not resonate with you? I didn't have time. Well, you had time to be miserable. Stop it. So what happens is that we're still very comfortable in our miserable. That's not a criticism. It's just a truth. We're still very comfortable in our miserable. And what has to happen is that when that miserable becomes so miserable that the unknown, or the outside the box, is less scary than you are miserable, that's when your scale tips. That's when things start to go, you know what? I no longer fear the unknown as much as I did. I fear living like this the rest of my life. So now I'm going to take the step forward into the unknown. My anger was coming from feeling like, truthfully, the arrogance of feeling like I could walk up to people and go, stop it, do it now. And their scale hasn't tipped. The scale hasn't tipped. And it's not for me, even big girl, not for me to jump on it and say, here you go, let's make that tip. And that's the reality of the brain process and the mind process. And there's a lot of denial that we all carry within that. And so the survivor thing is, I'm not ready to face myself. Or the survivor thing is, I don't feel I'm strong enough to look at that again. The survivor thing is, I fear what I will feel like when I do that. Because what I've talked about before is, we're not afraid of a memory. We have all kinds of memories that already happened. No reason to fear it. And we're actually not afraid of an emotion. Because I can list every emotion under the sun here on the show. Nobody's going to be affected. But when you say, how does that emotion make me feel? Oh, yeah, we're not going to do that.
Well, feelings, unless they're good, generally aren't fun.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just how that goes. I will skip past things. Like I throw myself into the future. If I'm experiencing something that's giving me unpleasant feelings, whether it's apprehension, anxiety, just feeling bad, doing something I do not want to do, I think, okay, well, at this time tomorrow, what will I be doing and how will I be feeling? Or 1 hour from now, I'll be doing this other thing. I often throw myself out of the negative into a forward position that eases. Yeah, it's complete avoidance. It's complete avoidance of the emotion. I don't like emotions unless they're good. That's just the way it goes. I'm not really that. I tend not to be an overly emotive person all the time. I can get there, but I'm not generally an overly emotive person.
We don't always have to be in a heightened state of emotion, but my theory, my box says, when those ones that cause us discomfort and pain continue, when our choices that we're making repeat a cycle, you know what I mean? When we are feeling stuck, locked in that uncomfortable life, that unhappiness, that's when we got to start going, okay, why am I doing this?
Okay. And we've got a few comments here.
Okay.
Oh, goodness. Ted, actually back in the parental conversation we were having, says, doing that as a parent is only setting your children back. Be honest with yourself. You can only shelter your children so much, because otherwise you don't teach them to process difficulty in their life.
Right.
Mary Sutherland says, finally got in. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Mary.
And then Ted says, I had a little bit of a mental breakdown because I was expecting things out of people and they didn't reach my expectations. Watching your past shows made me realize where I went wrong and how to fix it. So thanks. And that is something anybody can do. You can go get our past shows on YouTube and on Facebook as well. That's why we do the live stream. So if you don't happen to catch it on the radio, where most of our listeners are, I would say probably the huge majority of our listeners are actually on the radio, 216thenet.com or on Radio Garden, et cetera, et cetera. And then Shayna says, so when we are not okay enough, only then will we move towards something different.
Correct. The scales have to tip. And that's the moment of truth, for however you want to put it. And that's when we make those decisions to change. And it's where the panic comes and where the avoidance comes and the burying seems to come is, again, we're not afraid of the memory. We're not afraid of emotions. We can list them. We're afraid of what the emotions make us feel like. And we get locked into the fear of, but if I explore that, I'm going to fear how I felt then and not be able to get out of it. The fear of being locked into that past. So what I try and do, and the tools that I use, teach people how to process an emotion, how to bring it up, how to look at it, and how to let it go. Again, that's why I call it self-empowerment coaching, because I can do the woo-woo just and fix your emotion in this moment. But in 5 years, when something new comes and you don't know how to process it, you're just screwed again. So it's about learning how to process these emotions and let them out. And part of it is that our body stores memory. Ask any massage therapist. They'll tell you that they've had people who have had emotional release on the massage table. Knots and things break through. And our cells and our muscles carry memory. So there's an emotional attachment, right? Our body absorbs these things. When we're burying it somewhere. You know, why do you think people are like this? You know, kind of stressed. Well, that's an emotion. It's a state of being, so your body holds those states. So the concept of body syndromes, to me, should not be that foreign. The reason I think people find it weird, and not everybody does, but the high majority do, is that it requires self-initiation, self-reflection, the work.
Yeah.
It's not a pill.
Nope.
Nobody, it can't be blamed on anyone else. Nope. It's self-accountability and it's self-ownership, and that can be scary as hell. The tools and the things that I do help you to process that so it's no longer scary. We don't have to fear it. We fear it because we've never been taught something our world does not teach. Well, there are segments that do, very few, is to actually process life. We're taught to live life. We're taught to earn money in life. We're taught what successful is. We're taught what failure is. We're taught smile and be a good person. We're taught all those things. But we are not taught how to process how you feel.
No, not at all.
And hence why we have a world filled with people with all these buried emotions that are just stirring to the surface, screaming, see me. And we want the rest of the world to adjust to make us more comfortable. This will sound harsh, and I don't mean it to sound negative. It's to make it quick so I can read some of these to you. Is the same parenting that says never let my child feel harm, never let my child be bored, never let my child feel rejected, never let my child do these things. In other words, let's reframe the exact same statement. Never let my child learn how to process an emotion.
Yeah.
So that they don't know how to process an emotion. And then let me send them out into the world that's not going to adjust to you or give a shit.
And that's remarkable. As a parent, you do wish you could do all those things. You want your child to be happy all the time and for everything to be so much easier than it was for you. But it is amazing when your children go through something very difficult, and without revealing too much, my daughter went through her very first serious relationship in college. And let me tell you, she chose a whopper. and it was not in any way.
I was saying that's not just from dad's eyes. That's
it's from dad's eyes, and it wasn't in any way abusive or anything like that. But it brought her to bear and deal with some extremely difficult emotional ramifications and some extremely difficult decisions to make about other people, about herself, and about how to move forward or how to stay. And she, I mean, you talk about making a whopper of a choice on your first real genuine relationship, not a little puppy love thing, not a little crush thing, not just dating. But I got to tell you, coming out of that,
She got the rapid test and heartbreak.
Yeah, she did. She got the huge rapid heart test and heartbreak, and come out of that, she's an amazing person. She learned so much from that, and all you can do is just be there, which
and support it.
For me sucks because you want to fix the thing, but you can't.
Right.
And that was kind of another lesson for me, is learning, well, okay, there are going to be things that as a dad I can never fix. I can never make better. But holy cow, the person that came out of that in her is just amazing. Just
so
brilliant.
I'll reframe how that sounds, and I'm going to tell you, good for you for offering her the grace for the learning she needed to process her life more easily. That's something my husband said, and then I swear to you, we're going out of time, and I feel guilty that I said body syndromes, and we really haven't gotten to the point. But my husband, my daughter, and my husband were very, very, very close. And she's 26. She'll be 26 in June. And she made a Facebook post not long ago, and it was a memory post thing that came up. And it was something her dad said to her when she was very, very young. And she still holds it to her heart. She said she was little and something had happened, like some friends hadn't shown up to her birthday party she wanted or something. You know, it was like something when she was very little, and she was so sad. And she said she looked at my husband and said, "Daddy, this is the worst day of my life." And he responded with, "I pray that's true."
Yeah.
He didn't say it's okay, they're mean people. It's okay, we'll find you more. It's okay. He just said, "I pray that's true."
And that's
I
about
hope this is truly the worst
all you
day.
can do. Mary Sutherland says emotion is in the mind. To change is the reaction of the heart when it has had enough. You get angry, which sparks the heart to react for change. I'm not going to take the pain anymore. This is where it happens. Shayna follows up with, right, it's where the magic happens, with a weird little snarky looking winky smiley tongue out emoji face. That's, I don't know what that means.
And I'll respect to that view, and I have a little bit different one, but I'll respect to that view, and that may resonate for people. I believe emotion is within the heart, and it communicates to the mind, and the mind decides what to do with it. Because our heart physically communicates with our mind more than our mind communicates with our heart. And in order for us to create anger in our mind or fear in our mind, we have to have felt something so painful that we're afraid to feel it again, or that we want to reject it through anger. So the emotion had to have been felt so strongly within our heart, because our heart is what wants love. Our heart is what wants companionship. Our heart is what wants acceptance. And when those things haven't been received and that's been hurt, our mind creates a story that makes us feel safe. Our view, our lenses in life distort it to something we can live with. And that's how it's saving us. That's how we're processing it. So that can become distorted and turned into anger. And sometimes, in truth, somebody has to hold anger long enough to heal. You know, if that's your survival mechanism. It's not that we feel anger, and it's not that we feel fear. Those aren't the problems. The problem is our response to that. Are we feeling anger and now projecting that out into the world and harming others? Or are we feeling anger and going, God, I hate being angry, and holding it in until we say, I don't want to feel this way anymore. I'm going to change the picture. I'm going to change the story. And in that, I've even had people who have carried a lot of it. And I've said, okay, now I want you to bring up that story you told yourself and how you've looked at that for so many years. And I want you to look at it and say, thank you. Thank you for saving me. Thank you for giving me, I'm going to cry now. Thank you for giving me time to heal. Thank you for saving me in this and doing the best that you could. I've learned a lot. I can do better now. You're free to go.
And on that note there, Ted says, this episode helped me with a conversation I had with my mom yesterday, so I sent it to my mom. I hope she watches it. I really feel it will help her too. Thanks, Ted. That's
Thank
nice
you,
to know.
Ted. That's flattering. That's more reassurance that I feel like I'm not just talking out of an end that isn't here.
Talking out of a different end.
Okay, so since I promised body syndromes, and it went off into another direction, which is cool because I actually think this direction was beneficial. So body syndromes is the way you're processing or burying, where you're burying an emotion, a thought, a memory. Where are you storing it? And how is your body responding to it? Because when we hold those things, we trap them within us, right? And it's very easy and common for people to say, well, I'm stressed out and I clenched my jaw. You know, my shoulders. Oh, I had to go to the doctor. My shoulders were so tight because I was so stressed. Cool. It's exactly true. Now, why were you so stressed? And what other things is your body doing to show you? So what I usually recommend is I teach people how to do a body scan. So I'm going to do it kind of generic and quick because we're running out of time and I don't have a human being here to do it with. But as I'd say, when you wake up in the morning, do a quick scan of your body from the tips of your toes to the top of your head. Just how does my body feel? No criticism and no judgment. Just legitimately, where am I right now? What does it feel like? And what that'll do is it'll make you reacquainted with your body, first off. And we're not talking a visual. We're talking about an energetic, how do I feel? Tips of the toes, top of my head. And it also, because people like to throw around the word empath. And there's different levels of being empathic. Everybody has empathy. Well, unless we've been severely traumatized out of it, we all have empathy. So then by recognizing what we feel like and being very aware of who we are, it's also easier to determine, wait a minute, what changed that? Has something occurred with me, or is it something in my environment that's changing what's going on around me? What am I feeling? And figuring that part out. And you can do that throughout the day. And then when you find something stirring, because there's those times when you're just kind of there and all of a sudden like a memory comes up and all of a sudden you're annoyed or pissed off or, anxiety or whatever it is, fear, whatever it is. By being aware of where you're at and how your body feels and what is yours, you can then go, oh, this is stirring. What does my body feel like now? Oh, my hands are clenched. Wow, I didn't even realize my hands were clenched. My hands are clenched. Wow, okay. My hands are clenched and my forearms are tight now. And what that tells you through body syndromes, and I have a list here so I can answer a few of them, but is that look at it from a different perspective. This emotion, this feeling, this memory is coming up and I'm aware of myself and now I'm becoming aware of that feeling and I'm noticing that when this memory comes up, my hands are clenched and my forearms are tight. My muscles, I feel them different. And why do I feel them different? Because I know what I felt like this morning and I know that now I feel differently as I feel this. Well, look at the representation to that. Why would you make a fist? To fight, right? To protect yourself or to deflect something away. Why would your forearms get tight? Because you're going to go into stance of protection. You're going to go into stance of guard. So look at that perspective of what's coming up. What's the emotion? What's the memory? What's coming up where in the moment you made the decision to have fear or anger about that, you felt you had to fight or protect yourself. You felt you had to put a guard up to block something away. And when you step and go, oh, I could see where I needed that then. I can see where I felt like I had to fight. Yeah, I can see why my body responded that way. Oh, you know what? I'm okay now. That situation has passed. I no longer feel the need that I need to fight for that situation. I'm going to pull that energy out. I'm going to let my body know, thank you. Thank you for protecting me the way you did in that moment. I no longer need to respond that way. We're safe. It's safe to let that go. And literally take breaths and pull the energy out of your hands and your arms and blow it out and release it. And remind yourself that you're now safe from that situation. There's no longer a need to respond that way. Because what's happening is anytime an energy around you, and I don't mean spirit energy, I mean kind of, but you know what I mean. An energy of an environment or a situation around you triggers that same level that you felt that moment you had to fight. your body will respond in the way that it did. Even though it's not the same situation again, in a moment, we decided that that was the way to respond to that situation. So we trained ourselves that anytime a situation occurs that's similar to that, we're going to go into fight mode. We're going to become aggressive. We're going to take a stance. We're going to make our power known. We're going to put our fists up. And we're not consciously doing it, which is why being familiar with your body and how it feels and it responds, and then being aware of something that comes up and you go, wow, look at that. My fists are clenched and my arms are tight. And just being aware of that mind and body connection and how it's working, we're unconsciously having that response because at some point in the moment, we decided that was how we should respond. And now we're able to decide we no longer need to and let that go. And we're letting go the energy of not only that, but the other things that are attached to that.
And Denise says, I often feel stress in my upper back. Recognizing where you feel things is, because I know where I start to feel things. That is usually in my gut, in my stomach.
I will tell you exactly what stomach is in a second. I'm going to go to shoulders. They word it better than me on here and it's faster. So it's shoulders and tension, responsibility to too many or too few, expression of our needs and resistance to do something that we do not want to do. The conduit between heart energy and arms, hugging and touching. So it's a need. We're struggling to be able to raise our arms and embrace those around us, ourselves, or the situation, because we're carrying too much load of expectations, of responsibilities. So we need to lighten the load so that our arms are free, our shoulders can move more easily, so that we're able to then raise them to embrace the situation, the person, or the self. Does that make sense? Pete, the belly one, I'll tell you. My ex and I talked about this because I have a belly issue. I call it I joke all the time, I call it my cat sack. Our belly, this is our torso. Okay. So this is our core. We can live without our legs. We can live without our arms. Okay. But we cannot live without the core of our body, our function.
Right.
So when our stress and our strain is here, it's something that's affecting our life source. It's something about our life source, our passion, our choice, our life source is being affected or triggered by this. And so we do it. And why do we gain weight here? Because we feel the need to protect our life source. Something's a threat to ourselves or our life source.
And see, that's probably why I'm built like a snowman on toothpicks. But yeah, because I've gone through ulcers, and usually when I am really stressed, I can't eat. Like a lot of people will do the opposite. They'll stress eat. When I'm feeling good, when I'm feeling comfortable, I'm feeling happy, everything's going along great, I eat like a freaking machine.
Here, I'm going to, your perfect example. So when I'm stressed, my stomach hurts and I can't eat.
Yeah.
Because when I'm stressed, something's questioning my life source. Something's challenging my life source. Something's making my life source feel threatened, or my security to feel threatened. My confidence feel threatened. So I don't feel as though I can nurture myself and give myself what I need. Because if I did that, I may not be able to digest what the purpose of that was. I may not be able to digest that truth. So I can't nurture myself. And I'm a fear of what I would have to digest in order to do that. And when I feel good about myself, I'm confident. I'm good. I see my value. I see my worth. And I can nurture myself because I deserve to be nurtured.
Well, I must be feeling good a lot because...
Well, no, that's actually the opposite. It's the sign of protection.
Yeah, okay.
Because I joke about my cat sag. Believe it or not, I have a waist. I just have big boobs and a big lower belly. Okay, so sometimes unless I wear a belt, it's difficult to determine. But my lower belly is where I gain my weight. So it's my life source. It's my protection. But because of sexual assault and self-esteem issues and issues that I've had in my life in that area, my weight is in my lower part of my belly. What is the lower part of your belly? Is it your reproductive source? Is it your sexual organs? Is it your sexual hormones? Is it your mothering and your nurturing and your what you're offering to the world? So it's a protective mechanism that's there. And it's how our body is reading and feeling what we're telling it. So we're saying, I don't feel safe for this area. or I don't feel protected for this area, send energy to it. And our body has different aspects. Our body has different purposes. Our body has different things. So again, it's so funny to me that when I say, let's reconnect the mind and the body, because your body's trying to talk to you. It's trying to tell you, it's trying to help you. And people say, well, I want to do it the woo-woo way. There is no more woo-woo than mind-body-spirit connection. What do we deflect? Our fear of what we'll find.
Well, and then when you do start to listen, as I have recently done, your body, like my body, is saying, dude, no more beef. You're done with the beef. And I love beef. I love red meat. Red meat is tops. Just only slightly behind Twinkies. And but my body's like, nope.
All right, I have a question for you.
You're done.
I have a question for you. What does red meat represent to you? When you think of eating red meat and you think of a meal of red meat, what feeling, what memory, what emotions does that bring up for you?
I don't know about a memory.
But does it bring up like a hominess, something from childhood, a loving, a nurture, a warmth, a comfort? What does it bring? Like, it's got to bring up something. You wouldn't crave it if it didn't bring you something.
The deliciousness, the flavor, the juices, just how good that is. And it feels like it's substantive, like it's, okay, that could be a thing, because it's substantive, meaning I'm sinking my teeth into something that really feels like I'm eating a thing. And, and
I struggle to digest the idea of that.
Maybe that it's something to do with the lack of having plenty at times growing up, because, we were not by any stretch of the imagination wealthy.
And do you struggle to digest that memory? Are those memories that you?
Yeah, those are memories I'd rather not take a look at, because
so you struggle to digest. So when you eat this, it brings you to the realization actually of lack. And you struggle to digest the idea of lack. So therefore, our body is going to say, no, we have to reject this because it causes us this discomfort.
Okay, well, you just peeled an onion layer for me there.
That's what I do.
Yeah, that's what you do.
And here, purposely, actually.
But my body is telling me you just simply. No more red meat. You're done.
But your body isn't saying that. Your brain is. Your brain's saying, because I don't want to face that issue. I don't want to face those things. I don't want to digest that emotion. Well,
I mean, physically though, when I eat it,
but you can change it when you change what you told your brain you couldn't handle. And so so you just did a perfect example. And I know we ran out of time, and I'm so sorry. And I'll bring up body syndromes again if somebody wants me to. But what just happened with you is a great example. Because sometimes when people are in the office, they go, why are you asking me all these freaking questions? Because they don't seem like they make sense. Well, see, all I did was allow you to talk and then challenge little things, sporadically challenge little things. And what happens is your unconscious mind starts to go, I got to give her an answer. And sometimes it's, I'm going to prove her wrong. She's making me mad. I don't care what it is. People get mad at me all the time. But what's happening is your unconscious mind is opening up and going, I'm going to search for the answer. Damn it, I'm going to find the answer. I have to give her an answer until finally it goes, I'm going to shut her up.
And I think for me, it was more, okay, is there really more to this than just the flavor, just how good it was?
Right, but in order for your unconscious mind to open up for that answer, it had to be challenged. Because you became comfortable in the belief that your body just wouldn't digest meat anymore. And that's fine. It could have been. There can be allergic and food there. I say there's emotional reasons behind it, but we're going to go with that. See a doctor. But my point is that once I challenged that belief even slightly, your unconscious mind, your inner toddler went, don't you challenge me. I'm going to find it. I'm going to find the proof of I'm going to find the proof of the story I've created. And it had to go search for it. And when it went to search for it, I went, hey, wait a minute. Maybe there's this. So I ask these weird questions sometimes, and I sporadically just throw something in there, not to make somebody uncomfortable because I want to harm them, but to force that unconscious mind to go click. I'm going to search for that answer and prove her wrong.
And to be clear, it didn't make me feel uncomfortable, but more my feeling was curiosity at that moment.
Well, that's you. But I'm talking about somebody in the office who's angry and wants me to validate their anger.
But
I'll go in and help break open that storybook. It's kind of like the book you set aside and you're pretty sure you remember the whole thing, but there's parts of it you probably have forgotten.
Probably.
So I help to break open that storybook so that the truth starts to come out. Those answers start to unfold. So we're down to 1 minute. I apologize that I babbled onto a different direction, but it's kind of a similar direction. If anybody would like to know more about body syndrome, send some messages to let us know that you'd rather me go over the list or you'd have some questions about different areas of your body. I'll be happy to do it again. I thank you all for listening. I won't apologize for being angry these few weeks. It's real. I apologize if it affected you in any way negative. That I will apologize for. Have a great weekend. Know yourself, learn yourself, question yourself, and allow the seeds to be planted. Have a good day.